Welcome to IAS Net Study. This is the ethics series. Two videos are done, and this is the third video. In the first video, we talked about basic concepts, and in the second video, we talked about determinants, consequences, and essence of ethics. And in the third video, in this discussions, we are going to have a detailed analysis of dimensions of ethics. And this dimensions of ethics, this is quite important from one thing, section A, but at the same time it is very important from the case study perspective also. See, the detailed analysis regarding all these theories, it's there in the fifth unit, but here we have a brief introduction to all these theories. So let's get into the discussion. Let's understand the basics. Of course, in the fifth unit we are going to have a detailed analysis, but here at least let us have that brief understanding about all these consequences. What are duty based theories, what are end based theories. All these aspects are going to brief analysis of these topics. So if you look at the dimensions of ethics, four dimensions you need to remember. The first is meta-ethics, and then prescriptive ethics. Prescriptive ethics is also called as normative ethics. Then we have a descriptive ethics, and finally applied ethics. First, this gives the basic understanding. Meta-ethics talks about basics of ethics. Then descriptive ethics, the third one here, comparative ethics, it tells you what is accepted in society, how people think about morality in society. So here you understood the basics, and then in the descriptive, what exactly society thinks of morality, that is we are going to be discussed. And this prescriptive ethics, that normative ethics, here it will tell you what action you should choose. So what is the right, there are options in front of you and you have to make a decision, you have to take an action. Here this prescriptive ethics, this is going to prescribe you what action you are supposed to take at this point of time. And then finally we have applied ethics. Applied ethics, where whatever we have learned here, that is going to be implemented in real time basis. So this is what, these are the four dimensions of ethics. First is meta ethics, then prescriptive ethics, then descriptive ethics, and finally applied ethics. So let's see each one of these in detail. Meta ethics. Ethics, you know that it tells you what is good, what is bad. It tells you what is right and what is wrong. This is what ethics talks about. It talks about morality. Now what exactly this meta means here? This meta talks about beyond. Meta means beyond. And what exactly here, beyond the ethics? What is beyond the ethics? Here, take an act of stealing. Here we all think stealing is a wrong thing to do. It is something immoral. We don't consider it as a good activity. So stealing is wrong. So stealing, it is wrong. Ethics deals with this aspect of stealing. So it is good, it is bad. This analysis will be dealt with ethics. But meta ethics deals with right and wrong. Why do we, how do we decide this is right? How do we decide this is wrong? What is the definition of right, what is the definition of wrong, what is the definition of good, and what criteria is used to call something as bad? So this uh, beyond ethics will be decided, will be analyzed, will be learned under the meta ethics. Here we are going to talk about origin of ethics, and we are going to understand the meaning of ethical terminologies. We are going to see the sources of ethical aspects. So ethical terminologies, concepts, origin, source, it means that ethics is something else, and we are going to discuss beyond the ethics. So all these aspects are going to be discussed. It is going to be understood under meta ethics. So it does not consider whether the action is good or bad. Here stealing, we are not going to discuss about whether stealing is good or bad under meta ethics, but rather we question what exactly the goodness and what exactly the badness of morality itself. So this is meta ethics. Meta ethics, it talks about origin, it talks about source of ethics, it talks about ethical terminologies, it talks about, it questions what exactly morality itself. So this is what the meta ethics talks about. Next, the second dimension, it is descriptive ethics. Descriptive ethics, it's another terminology, is comparative ethics. Ultimately here, one aspect we are going to focus, that is what is accepted in society, what actions are accepted in the society, and uh, what exactly people think is moral or what exactly people think is immoral in the society. Let us take the same example of stealing. See, in general, if I ask you, is stealing a good activity? Is it good or bad? Answer it outrightly. You are going to say that this is a wrong action. This is something bad. Stealing is not accepted. But now let us change the scenario. A mother is stealing a packet of milk for her child. Here, it is very much necessary to save the kid at this point of time to steal this packet of milk. Now the perception changes. Maybe before 100% of the people in a society they were telling that stealing is bad. Now you have given a new scenario. In this scenario, maybe 70% of the people they are going to say that stealing in this perspective, this is only wrong for 70% of the people, and 30% of the people they are going to support it directly or indirectly. They are going to say that she's doing it for kid, she's not doing it for herself. So there is her stealing, it is going to save a life. So this is ethical, this is moral. So now the percentage may change. Or you can take one more situation where Robin Hood kind of situation, where a person is stealing money from a very rich corrupt individual and is distributing that money to a poor people or a needy people. Now how many percentage of people in a society think this is wrong? How many percentages of people think this is right? So ultimately descriptive ethics talks about what is accepted in a society. So what people think is moral, what people think is immoral. So this gives that understanding for us. In my society, how many people think that this is wrong? What is accepted? If I do this, will people accept me? If I do this, is it considered as wrong activity? These things are going to be discussed under descriptive ethics. Right? This is the second dimension. And the third dimension is that now in the first meta ethics, you understood the basics, and in the uh, prescriptive ethics, sorry, in the descriptive ethics, we talked about what is accepted. So we understood the thinking of the people. Now normative ethics, this will tell you how you should behave in a situation. There is a scenario, you have to make a decision, you have to take an action at this point of time, how you should behave, what is right and what is wrong at this point of time. So it directly guides your behavior. So normative ethics tells you what to do and what not to do. This is the normative ethics. Right. First meta-ethics. Second descriptive ethics. So third prescriptive ethics, normative ethics. Normative ethics directly tells you what to do and what not to do. Under normative ethics, we need to dissect this particular topic in detail to understand the various dimensions of it. One thing, it gives the basic understanding of morality, ethics, all these things. And second point of view here is that for case studies, understanding these concepts is extremely important, and even for the essay also, this plays very important role here. Now let's talk about normative ethics. Normative ethics, mainly three branches we can see, three types of theories we can see under normative ethics. One thing is, normative ethics ultimately tells you what to do, what actions you should take. So it tells you the first version is that, first philosophy is that action based theory, and then we have a virtue based theory, and then we have a right based theory. See, under right based theory, your action should be based on rights. I will explain that. Rights is that I have certain privileges, whether it is given by constitution, government, a state, whatever it is. So I have complete freedom to act under my rights. So normative ethics, it guides you that, see, if you are following your rights, then it is ethical. If you are violating your rights, then it is unethical. So this is one theory. And another theory is virtue based theory. In the virtue based theory, if my decisions are based on values, if my decisions are based on virtues, then those actions are ethical. I should always take decision based on the values. I should always take my actions should be based on these virtues. This is virtue based theories. And another set of theory, that is action based theories. Under action based theory, there are two subset. One is end based philosophy, end based ethics, means based ethics. End based theories, end based ethics, means based approach, means based theories. So under normative, there are three ways we are going to dissect it. One is action based theory, second is virtue based theory, third is right based theory. Now Let us focus on action-based theory. Under action-based theory, we have two subsets, and the first subset is end-based approach, and the second subset is means-based approach. Let's understand these two first, and then we'll talk about virtue-based theory and right-based theory. Now, let's start with end-based theory. See, end-based theories, end-based approach here, whatever the action you are taking, make sure that consequences, if consequences are positive, then your actions are moral. I'm taking an action if ultimately outcome is positive. Outcome, consequence, it is end goal. Ultimately, consequence, it is the end of your action. If the end of your action is positive, then your action is considered as morality. So, end based approach tells you to focus on ends only. If you are taking an action and your end goal at the end of this consequence of your action is positive, then it is moral, you can go for it. This is what end based approach talks about. And means based approach, means based approach, it means that it is not going to consider the end, it is not going to consider the consequences or the outcome. The methodologies you use in your decision, you use in your action, that is going to be focused by means based approach. Here means will be focused. If means is following duties, if means are following ethical approach, if means is not harming other person, if means are upholding ethical values, then it is moral, then my actions are considered moral. But in under end based, it is ultimately the outcome. Let me give you guys an example. I want to build an orphanage. So this is the end goal. But what are the ways I can build it? One thing, I have my own money. With the help of my own money, I can build an orphanage, or I can take a loan, or I can borrow money from somebody else and I can build an orphanage. And the third way is I can steal money and I can build an orphanage. End-based theory only focus on this aspect. Orphanage, this is positive, ultimate outcome is positive, I'm building an orphanage. It out end-based theories focuses on only these things. Here, building an orphanage, it is positive outcome, so this act is considered as positive, this act is considered as ethical, this act is considered as moral. This is end-based theory. So this is what end-based theory talks about. Means-based approach, it deals with, see, there are three methodologies here. In one method, I have my own money. With the help of my own money, I am building an orphanage. Here, I am using my money. I have my hard earned money is used. So this is considered ethical. I can take loan, I can borrow money from somebody else, I can build an orphanage. This is also going to be considered as ethical because ultimately I am going to give back that money to that person. So this is also ethical. But if I steal money from somebody else and then I build an orphanage, this is considered unethical, because even the methodology, that is also very much important. I want to build an orphanage, it is fine, that is going to help people, it is fine, but the way I build an orphanage is also matters here. If I am stealing a money from somebody else, it means that while building an orphanage, I am causing harm, I am causing trouble to another person. Here I am compromising dignity of another individual. I am stealing money, you have a lot of money, I am stealing money from you. It means that somewhere I am compromising your dignity. So here this is not accepted, even though outcome is positive, but the method I am doing, it is not positive. So means is also important. And means based approach, means based theories focuses on methods also. So action based, two types, one is end based approach, another one is means based approach. End based approach, you ultimately focus on outcome, and means based approach, the methods you follow to achieve the outcome, that also be focused under means based outcome. So this is action based theories, end based and mean based. And within this end based only, there are five different school of thoughts, and let's talk about these five different school of thoughts, end based theories. The first is that psychological egoism, and this is given by Thomas Hobbes. And what exactly the psychological egoism is? Ultimately, you know that end based theories, it means that consequences, sorry, consequence, right? Psychological egoism. Here what happens, what exactly this particular approach or this theory is talking about, that whatever actions, every single action is motivated by self-interest. See, even if there are so-called altruistic activities in our society, and this theory talks about even those altruistic activities are ultimately based on selfishness only. There is an example. Usually I don't want to steal. Here if you look at the base, the core reason behind why am I not stealing, it is that if I steal, there are consequences. Law can take action against me. And another thing is, even I will be having that guilt that I have stolen something, that guilt will be there. So I am not going to steal in order to avoid that guilt. So here the ultimate, if you look at it, it is my selfish motive. I don't want to have that guilt, that is the reason I am not going to steal. So here motive is selfish. At the same time, I have got the wallet of somebody, my friend's wallet, I am returning that wallet. But here also it looks like an altruistic activity, that I am helping out somebody by returning the wallet. But the thing is, if you look at the core reason behind, again there is a selfish tendency. And what is that selfishness? That I am expecting praise, I am expecting some kind of acceptance from other person. And by returning wallet, my self image, it is going to raise in the society. So ultimately, even if you look at it, it is it is considered as an altruistic activity in society. But if you look at the core intention behind it, it is pleasure, it is self interest. So psychological egoism tells that ultimately consequences of every action, it is pleasure, it is self-interest. And this theory, this philosophy, it is given by Thomas Hobbes. This is one of the theories, one of the approaches under end-based theories, end-based approach, end-based ethics. Now the next is ethical egoism. Here it is, first one is psychological egoism, second one is ethical egoism. And this approach is given by, this theory is given by Henry Sitzwick. Here there is a slight difference between first and second. In the first, ultimately everything is self-interest here, but here this theory also supports the self-interest, and it says that there is nothing wrong to be uh, focus on your self-interest. They, and also it tells that be rationally self-interested. It means that it is fine to be selfish, it is fine to think of your own well-being, it is fine to focus on your happiness, but make sure that your way of happiness should not harm others. So this is what ethical egoism talks about. Psychological egoism, here everything, the end goal will be pleasure. And if the whatever it is based on this, it is considered ethical. Under ethical egoism, yes, you can focus on your self-interest, but make sure that your activities should not harm others. Ultimately the consequence outcome should be your happiness or your self-interest. And the next, the third ethics, end-based theories, the third philosophy under end-based theories, utilitarianism. This is a very famous one, and uh, case studies, most of the case studies based on utilitarianism only. So utilitarianism, and this is given by Jeremy Bentham. The simplest definition is that greatest good to greatest number of people. If I have to give an example, construction of dam. Government want to construct a dam. See, this is going to help 1 lakh people, but at the same time there are 5,000 families, or 5 lakh, sorry, 5,000 people, they are going to directly impacted by this dam construction. Positive for 1 lakh people, negative for 5 to 10,000, maybe 5,000 people, it is negative because they are going to lose the livelihood, and they are going to there will be displacement, there will be rehabilitation for these people. So ultimately when you look at the numbers, 1 lakh is a very big number. So positive for 1 lakh people, negative for 5 lakh people. Based on these numbers, greatest good to greatest number of people, dam is making greatest good to greatest number of people. So that is the reason this is considered as ethical. So under utilitarianism, ultimately the outcome, the consequence, if it helps greatest number of people, then it is considered as ethical. This is what utilitarianism talk about. But there are some drawbacks to it. See, 1 lakh people it is helping, it is fine, but what about these 5,000 people? See, the minority interests are compromised under utilitarianism. These people are taken for granted, and we are not considering the justice aspect here. They their rights, their dignity, and the justice here, it has been compromised under utilitarianism. And we don't see value based happiness. There is no value based happiness under utilitarianism. Again, consequence, this is also one of the consequential theories under end based theory. This is third one. And the fourth one is qualitative utilitarianism, and this is given by John Stuart Mill. This is just an extension of utilitarianism. In utilitarianism, it is greatest good to greatest number of people. It is the same here also, greatest good to greatest number of people. But the thing is, let us take the same example. Damn, it is helping 1 lakh people, but 5,000 people, there are negative consequences. But here, under qualitative uh, utilitarianism, make sure that you are not compromising the justice aspect of these 5,000 also. So here, liberty or freedom, justice, dignity of these people are not compromised. So even minority interest is also taken into the consideration. So this is upgradation of Jeremy Bentham's approach. J.S. Mill's approach. See, in case studies, I would suggest always take this approach. This is, say, qualitative utilitarianism, and then one more, virtue-based ethics. These are standard approach. And usually when you're making a decision based on virtues, when you're taking a decision based on qualitative utilitarianism, ultimately you are serving the aspect of justice. Being a civil servant or being a head of an organization, if you follow this, ultimately you can write it in your conclusion. These approaches comes in handy to uh, answer case studies in an effective way. So I always suggest that this is the best approach to solve the case studies, qualitative utilitarianism. Along with that, you can go for a virtue-based ethics, virtue-based approach also. So here, you're not compromising with justice, you're not compromising with liberty and freedom of an individual, you're not compromising with justice of an individual. So here, we are focusing on value-based happiness. So this is the fourth approach under end-based theories. And fifth, we have common good. Common good, in a simple way, if I tell that, previous theories usually we focus on individual. Here we see community or society as a whole. I mean to say that, as an example, if a Indian cricket team wins, so all the players in the cricket team, it's a win for them also. So it is a win-win situation. If you focus on welfare of entire society, even that is going to drop down, that is going to drip. There will be a dripping effect to the individual person also. As an example of vaccination, also the COVID vaccination, government has taken a decision to vaccinate everybody. So here, that it is by focusing on whole society is going to be benefit. At the same time, it is going to trickle down to the individual person also. So most, whatever actions you take, if it is benefiting a society as a whole, then it is considered ethical under common good approach. So this is what, say, help the team win. So you're working for a team. If a team wins, you are also going to win, because you are a part of the team. So well-being of a community, if you focus on well-being of a community, or eventually this will trickle down to individual well-being also. So on the whole, we talked about end-based theory. So end-based theories here is that my actions, my decisions are considered morally right if the consequences of the actions are more favorable. The consequences of actions are positive, the outcomes are positive, then my actions are considered as ethical. So ultimately, the statement, ends justify the means. Ends justify the means. These are end-based theories. So here, let me clear this up. So normative ethics, under normative ethics, three types, three approaches: action based ethics, virtue based ethics, right based ethics. We were discussing on action based ethics. Under action based ethics, end based approach, means based approach. Now we had a discussion of end based approach. Under end based approach, there are five theories we have a discussion: psychological egoism, ethical egoism, utilitarianism, qualitative utilitarianism, common good approach. These five discussions we had under end-based theories. Now let's talk about means-based approach. Means-based theories, there is only one theory here, and it is also called Kantian philosophy. The one predominant individual who supported this means based theory. It's a Immanuel Kant. So this is called Kantian philosophy. Here the main focus is on the duty, the method you follow to achieve something, the means you follow to achieve the end, that also matters, and that should be the predominant factor to it. And here it says that there is no wrong way of doing right things. See, I want to do something positive, I want to build an orphanage, but if I start stealing money from somebody else to build an orphanage, this is wrong, because the wrong step, if your first step is wrong, ultimately your consequences, your goal will also be wrong. So there is no wrong way of doing right things. If you say that by stealing money I can build an orphanage, this is not going to end well. So here it says that there is no wrong way of doing right things. Right thing, if you want to do the right thing, start from the right thing only. No compromise of values, no compromise of morality in achieving right things. This is core philosophy under means based theory. And one important aspect, that is categorical imperative. Remember this terminology, categorical imperative. It means that some aspects are non-negotiable. No matter what, you cannot compromise with some of the aspects. There is an unconditional necessity. What is that categorical imperative in a means-based approach in Kantian philosophy? That is dignity of an individual. Dignity of an individual is non-negotiable. There should not be compromise on dignity of an individual. And every individual is ending himself. You should not use another individual to achieve some end. So no one should be treated as a means to the end. So this is what means based theories, means based approach talk about. It is duty based, and it is also called deontological. See, this is deontological because it is duty based. And end based theories, it is called teleological. Teleological because teleos, it means that end, consequence. So Kantian philosophy is a deontological, and the end-based theories are teleological. And these duty-based theories, it is based on morality and foundational principles of obligation. See, you have certain moral obligation and you are supposed to fulfill it. You are not supposed to compromise these moral obligation, whether it is compassion, empathy, integrity, truth. These are the basic morality. You, in order to achieve something, don't compromise with your morality. Don't compromise with these values. This is what Kantian philosophy talks about. It believes that means are more important than ends. And another aspect I want to tell you, that there's so many questions in the examinations. It has come on these lines. Is it means better than ends? Is it ends better than means? How do you substantiate? Give examples. So many times these questions, directly or indirectly, these kind of questions have come and have a fodder material. I'm going to talk about, discuss that also. So go through with that, because it is repetitive in nature. Question is coming again and again. This, and also difference between law and ethics. These are very frequent questions from the first chapter, right? So this is means based theories. And the next, we talked about action. There are three under normative ethics. There are three approaches. One is action based, second is virtue based, and third is rights based. We are done with action based. Now we are going to take up the virtue based ethics, virtue based approach. Here again, normative ethics, it tells you what action you should take at this point of time, or there is a scenario and you have to make a decision, and how should you make a decision, what action, what step you should take. This is what a normative ethics talks about. Now here, under virtue based ethics, see, whatever actions you take, whatever decisions you make, it should be based on virtues. Virtues are nothing but values only. So if your actions are based on values, if your actions are based on virtues, then your decisions, your actions are considered as ethical. And three eminent personalities under virtue based ethics are Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. We are going to talk about them in the fifth unit, but just remember that these three are called virtue ethicists. It means that they give that statement or basis to this virtue based ethics. Socrates told that Knowledge is a virtue. See, if I have taken if I have a right knowledge, then I'm going to do the right thing. So if I'm doing something wrong, it means that I don't have a right knowledge. So knowledge is a virtue. Having a knowledge, right knowledge, it is going to push me to do the right thing. So eventually my actions will be good, my actions will be ethical. So knowledge is a virtue. According to Socrates, if person has a knowledge, ultimately outcome, ultimately his action is considered as ethical. Next, Plato. Plato is a student of disciple of Socrates. Here also he is also a virtue ethicist. It means that he also supported virtues in the decisions, virtues in actions, and he has come up with four virtues. According to him, wisdom, courage, temperance, justice. These four virtues are extremely important. If any actions taken based on wisdom, based on courage, based on temperance, based on justice, then those actions are considered as ethical. Those actions are considered as good for a society. Then Aristotle came. Aristotle is a disciple of Plato, and Aristotle is also a virtue ethicist. And Aristotle gave a quite different explanation for a virtue based ethics. Here he told that virtue is a mean or a middle. It is a middle of virtues. It is also called golden mean of virtues. As an example, there is a cowardice, that is one extreme, and another extreme we have a recklessness. If you take action based on cowardice, it is unethical. If you take action based on recklessness, that is unethical. But the mean, the middle of these two, the golden mean of these two virtues, that is courage. If your actions are based on middle golden mean of virtues, then your actions are considered as ethical, or else it is considered as unethical. So virtue based ethics, it means that your actions should be based on virtues. That it is as simple as that. If the actions are based on virtues, then the action is considered as ethical. Plato, Aristotle, Thomas Aquinas is a medieval philosopher, were major advocates of virtue ethics. So we talked about action based. Under normative, we finished action based, we finished virtue based. Now we are going to talk about rights based ethics. Rights based ethics. See, what are rights? Rights are the privileges, rights are the entitlements, whether it has it might be given by a constitution, law, king, or a society, whatever it is, community has given certain rights to individual. So these are the entitlements. See, I am taking my actions. If my actions are within the framework of rights, I have certain rights. If my actions are within this framework, then it is ethical. If my actions are coming out of this framework, I have certain right. I am breaking my rights. I am going beyond my rights, and I am taking an action. I am taking a decision. Then that is called uh, immoral or unethical. Sorry, because here it is action, my action. If I cross this framework, then I am going to infringe the rights of other person. So as long as I'm working within framework of my rights, then it is ethical and it is legal and it is moral. But if I am infringing the rights of other individual, then it is considered as immoral. This is considered as unethical. So in order to decide what are my rights and what are my limitations, we have to have an element of objectivity, we have to have an element of rationality. If I have this objectivity and rationality, then only I could able to analyze my privileges, analyze my entitlements, and act upon it. So any actions which leads to violation of rights of individuals, so whatever, if my action is violating your rights, then that is termed as immoral action. So ultimately, normative ethics, there are three theories: action based theories, and then virtue based theories, and then rights based theories. Under action based theories, means based and end based. Under mean based, we discussed five philosophies. So here means based, it is Kantian philosophy. Under end based, that is teleological, we have five philosophies. We had a discussion here. Then we had a talk about virtue ethics, and we had a discussion regarding rights based ethics. So we covered meta-ethics, we covered prescriptive ethics, we covered normative ethics, and finally we have a applied ethics. Let's talk about applied ethics. What exactly this applied ethics? This is fourth dimension of ethics. What is applied ethics? See, we have in the first meta ethics, we learned that basics of ethics, the terminologies, we understood the meaning of it. And in the second, the prescriptive ethics, we understood the criteria of judgment, how exactly what is accepted in society, what is not accepted in the society. First basics, then criteria, then the third, it give the guidance that how we should act in a situation. So these three we understood that. All these three are theoretical. Now the practical, we have learned all these things. Now there is a real life situation. Now how do you take a decision? That is called applied ethics. Whatever we learned, we are going to apply it in real life situation. That is what applied ethics is. In a simple terms, I have to, if I have to give an example, is that take an example of same dam, construction of dam. There are two sets of people. One set of people who want to protect environment, they are opposing the dam construction, and another set of people, they are supporting economic development. Now there is a dilemma. One side it is environment, and another side it is economic development. Now how do you take a decision? And especially if a government is facing these issues, government is accountable to the people, and now people are segregated between environment protection and economic development. Now how do you take it? What decision you should go for? See, these kind of tricky situation, in these kind of dilemmas, the ethics, the whatever we have learned, means based, end based, utilitarianism, virtue ethics, right based, all these things comes into a picture. Now government is going to take a decision. Either it is going to take environment protection stand, or it is going to take a economic development stand. Whatever decision it makes, it has to give a proper explanation, and this explanation will be given with the help of these theories. So this is the applied ethics here. So here it is an attempt to use these ethical approaches, whatever we learned in the last slide, in the action based, virtue based, and the right based. So those approaches will be utilized here, and with the help of these approaches, we are going to we are going to identify which one is the morally correct course of action. This can be applied to the various field, medical field, environment field, or even industrial field, education. For every field, these kind of philosophies, these kind of approaches will be implemented, will be put into the experimental mode to find which suits better, right? So this is what applied ethics. Under applied ethics, let's talk about three examples here. See, we can have a discussion of 10 to 15 topics, but it is not at all required at this point of time. Ultimately what you need is, you need to understand how exactly applied ethics works. If you understand for one or two topics, you can replicate for other topics also. So here I am going to take three examples. The first is abortion. Now abortion, government has to make a decision. Again, there are certain people, they are saying yes to abortion, and there are certain number of people in a society, they are saying no to the abortion. Now, so two sets of the people, government has to make a decision. There is a dilemma, government has to make a decision. And even if you look at it, some of the countries abortion is given green signal, and in some of the countries abortion is, they have said no, and some of the countries there is a restricted uh, approval has been given to the abortion. So this is the scenario. Now how do you say, how do you take decision? Let's see the different approaches. From a utilitarian perspective, utilitarian, you know that greatest number to the greatest advantage to the greater number of the people. Here utilitarianism, under utilitarianism, abortion, whether it is positive, whether it is negative, whether we have to say yes or no, it is dependent on the consequences. You know that utilitarianism, it means that outcome based approach. Here also outcome based approach. If abortion is leading to the greater overall well-being, then it is considered as moral, and permission will be given. If the consequences is considered negative, then it is considered immoral, and permission will not be given. See, if everybody goes for abortion, I can say that it is my body and all, I can have whatever I want, but consequences in a long term, if a number of people going for abortion increases, how exactly it is going to impact the demography, how exactly it is going to impact the social and economic well-being of society. See, consequences, if you look at these consequences, you are not going to give permission to the abortion. So ultimately utilitarianism, what it does, it look at the consequences. Based on consequences, it is going to take a decision. Whatever, even if there is some other topic here, utilitarianism is going to do the same thing. consequence. It is going to look at the consequence. That is how the applied ethics works here. So utilitarianism, this is this. And next is right based approach, right based ethics. Right based approach, there are two rights here. One is right of a fetus. Fetus has a right. And another is fetus, right of a women, she has a right on her own body. So now there are two rights. Now how do you take decision is that which right has a more weightage here, whether it is a right of women or a right of a fetus. Based on that, you are going to take a decision. Based on that, government is going to take a decision. And this is how you apply whatever you have learned in the theory part. And then comes deontological. Deontological is means based ethics. Under deontological, what happens? See, abortion is killing a fetus here. Duty based approaches, it means that it always emphasizes on compassion, it emphasizes on protection of life. But here abortion is you are taking a life away from a fetus here. This is not going to be considered ethical under deontological. If a government follows the deontological ethics, then government is going to say no to that abortion here, because it violates the moral duty. We all have moral duty to protect a human life, but here this goes against it. So this, under deontological ethics, it is going to be no. Then come virtue ethics. Virtue ethics, it means that your action should be based on values. What are the values here? Values will be compassion, values will be wisdom here. Now there is a compassion for a fetus, compassion for a pregnant woman. So now you analyze which compassion holds more weightage. Based on that, you take a decision. So here your decision is values for both fetus and pregnant women. You're going to consider both of them and you're going to take a decision. So this is how you apply ethics at real life situations, right? So this is abortion. And the next example we are going to take is the animal rights. Again, there are two set of argument. One set of people, they are telling that animal rights have to be protected because they have the life. We all have that responsibility towards our environment, so it is our responsibility to protect the animal rights also, animal life also. But at the same time, there is another set of argument where the approach is human centricism. It means that whether it is environment, whether it is animals, everything, we should use it for a human welfare. So biocentrism, one argument. Another argument is human centricism. So that is the argument here. Now government has to take a decision. How does government is going to take a decision? Again, if government follows the utilitarian, ultimately this is going to look at the consequences. So if giving animal rights, protecting animal rights, if it is helpful for the human beings as a consequence, as an outcome, then it is ethical. If not, it is not. So but here utilitarianism usually oppose animal cruelty and exploitation if it causes more harm than the benefit. Ultimately, if outcome is beneficial, protecting animal rights, then it is going to be supported. If it is not beneficial or it is going to harm, then it is going to be rejected. So this is how you apply utilitarianism for the animal rights. Then have a rights based ethics. Rights based ethics, under rights based ethics, animals should not be treated as a means. We are also human beings, we have the life. Even animals, they also have the life. Animals also have the right, and we should not exploit the rights of animals for our comfort. So animal based approach, animal based ethics, rights based ethics, it is going to uphold the animal rights. If you follow the rights based ethics, then you're going to uphold the animal rights. But if you follow the virtue ethics also mentions that being a human being, we should have that value, the value of compassion and empathy. And these are the virtues. And if you have these virtues, you are going to treat animal with respect, and you are going to avoid cruelty. So if you follow virtue ethics, then government is going to take a decision. Even if for an individual also, if I am a follower of virtue ethics, then I am going to support this, I am going to protect the animal rights. So this is how you are going to implement whatever we have learned at the real life situation. Let's talk about one more example. This is euthanasia. Euthanasia is medically assisted killing, or the taking a life away. See, if a patient is terminally ill and a patient is suffering with extreme pain and there is no medical solution to that, then the person can go for a medically termination of life. So this is what euthanasia is. Again, there's two set of arguments. One set of arguments says yes to euthanasia, another set of arguments says no to euthanasia. So if you follow utilitarian approach, then you look at the consequences. Consequences is what? See, if euthanasia has been granted, then it maybe at this point of time it can remove the suffering, it can alienate the all the suffering for the patient and the family members. But if you look at from a different perspective, it is going to reduce the confidence in a society. Even for a minor health problem, people may thinking to go towards euthanasia. They may give up. So the confidence level of a society may come down if government says yes to euthanasia. So from utilitarian approach, it is going to look at the consequences, it is going to look at the outcomes, and based on that, it is going to give a solution. So here you are implementing, you are applying your ethics. Then deontology also, see, it also mentioned in the last abortion also, we talked about taking a life or suppressing a human life, it is not considered as a value, it is not considered as a virtue. So both deontology and the virtue ethics, it is not going to support ending a life. So it is considered as immoral, so morally impermissible. Whatever the consequences is, this is wrong. Because see, if you start supporting euthanasia, then eventually we start fighting. We have heard so many stories of people who are in the third stage of cancer, they have fought and they've come back and they've recovered. See, these stories, these are inspirational factors. But if you supporting euthanasia, they will give up, and ultimately this will become a norm eventually. I don't want to fight, I don't want to suffer all these things, and eventually even the fighting tendency will also go, and eventually we will surrender, and our confidence, it is going to be collapse, especially if there are any health issues. So under deontology also, it is not going to be supported, and the virtue ethics also, it is not going to be supported. But let's see from a right based ethics. See, right based ethics, I have right on my body, I am suffering, I just want to end my suffering, so this is voluntary euthanasia, so I have my right. So it is going to be supported here, because I have the right of self determination. I want to control my body, I am fed up of the suffering, I want to end. Under the, if government follow the right based ethics, then it can say yes to the euthanasia. And again, see, this is how you are going to take a decision, you are going to apply these ethical approaches, right? This is the dimension of ethics. Four dimension of ethics: meta ethics, prescriptive ethics, descriptive ethics, that is normative ethics, and finally applied ethics. I hope you understood all the three, all the these four dimensions of ethics. And in the next video, we are going to take up the ethics in private and public relationships. So thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next video in the part 4. And thank you so much.